Each of you bring your right arm to the square. Each of you bow your head and say yes.
This is not the Church of Emmanuel, Christ of Latter-day Saints, of Joseph Smith. This is the Church of Jesus Christ.
So plain and precious. Finally, the Book of Mormon is the keystone of
Emmanuel.
Just as the arch crumbles if the keystone is removed, so does all the church fall with the truthfulness of the Book of Mormon. The enemies of the church understand this clearly. My beloved brethren, this has been a glorious meeting. I realize you've only heard from 2 speakers plus our visitor, but it's still a glorious meeting. And I thank the Lord for it, for my counselors, for this man who has had the courage and the faith to accept the gospel and live it. I hope he lives it. I have been especially pleased to see the number of young men in attendance this evening. With all my heart, I love the youth of the church. I have spent much of my life in their service, and their well-being and happiness are among my greatest concerns. Tonight, I would like to speak directly to young men of the Aaronic priesthood. I am grateful that many of your fathers and priesthood leaders are with you, for I would like them to hear my message also. Young men of the Aaronic priesthood, you have been born at this time for a sacred and glorious purpose. It is not by chance that you have been reserved to come to earth in this last dispensation of the fullness of times. Your birth at this particular time has been foreordained in the eternities. You are to be the royal army of the Lord in the last days. You are youth of a noble birthright.
One of our brethren some years ago spoke of the payment of tithing as fire insurance. Nonetheless, the word of the Lord is clear that those who do not keep the commandments and observe the laws of God shall be burned at the time of his coming. For that shall be a day of judgment, a day of sifting, a day of separating the good from the evil. I would venture a personal opinion that no event has occurred in all the history of the earth as dreadful as will be the day of the second coming, as fraught with the destructive forces of nature, as consequential for the nations of the earth, as terrible for the wicked, and as wonderful for the righteous.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is losing a record number of its membership.
The study from Utah Tech University, the University of Tampa, and the University of North Florida found 42% of Utahns self-identify as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The mandate given by the First Presidency and the presiding bishopric is to only focus on financial growth. EPA employees are told that the money will be used after the second coming of Jesus Christ or during Armageddon right before he would come again. The IRS would not view these as legitimate tax-exempt purposes.
Travis, my good soul. I've got the knowledge of dream interpretation that when I sleep longer, I'm more inclined to remember my dreams. And so such was the case this morning, as the weather outside is too dangerous to go running this morning. So I went back to sleep when I woke up at 1. In my dreams, the enemy was attacking the land, destroying it. And the only person who would go with me, sort of, but not really, she wasn't willing, was a black woman and her little girl. And I recall trying to gather the computer that I had on a little cardboard table as the rest of the people around us were running and screaming in panic and fear. And you may think that that was a nightmare, not a dream. No, I was perfectly fine. I knew exactly what I needed to have done, and I was trying to get people to come out, and they wouldn't listen to me. So yesterday, I saw the Purge episode of Star Trek, the original series. And, spoiler alert, it was a programmed computer that was leading people's lives, and so Captain Kirk and Spock had to logically destroy it. Good times. So last night's church news was a bit more extreme. I've been warning you all these years that this is what the church was up to. They are purposely separating out the sheep from the goats, separating out the chaff from the wheat. And you may think that by staying in the church, you are the sheep and the wheat. No. Sorry. And I've had a couple of people who I can't trust because of your channel name and identity. But nonetheless, people are now demanding, well, which one is the true church? Well, if you'd watch my channel, you'd know. Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. But we are. No, you're not paying attention. This church does nothing the same as Joseph and the Book of Mormon. Those Doctrine and Covenants passages that violate the Book of Mormon? Yeah, even you critics should have caught on to this, but you didn't. They're forged documents by the Danites, this church. Anything that goes against the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith is not Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. It's real simple logic. And so, priestcraft? Nope. Section 119, forged document. Polygamy? Nope. Forged document. Section 132. Adam-on-diamond? Nope. Forged document. Joseph Smith intended to save America from this threat that is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Mormons chose not to save the United States of America. Well done, Mormons. Good job. Utter destruction is the consequences. should do the scriptures first. So Joseph Smith gave a parable prophecy of the latter days, section 101. And then starting in verse 43. And now I will show unto you, who's you, Mormons? Please tell me you got the right answer. It's to Mormons. It's all about the Mormons. With the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith, can you not figure it out? It's all about the Mormons. And so, thus, Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon say that the Bible is therefore, wait for it, all about the Mormons. You are the house of Israel. Therefore, the Bible. House of Israel? Put in Mormon. That's the learning of the Jews. It is not literal history. None of it is. It's all prophecy. And now Joseph Smith is prophesying. I will show unto you a parable that you may know my will concerning the redemption of Zion. He's already talking about his church having collapsed. He knows. And so, we get to verse 51. And the enemy came by night and broke down the hedge, and the servants of the noblemen, who were they, Mormons? Not you. Manuel says it's you. It's not you, because then who are the olive trees? The 12 olive trees, representative of the house of Israel. Wait, you're the house of Israel, so you're the 12 olive trees. So who's the servants of the noblemen? The prophets. Arose and were affrighted and fled. The prophets are prophesied to abandon you. Do you believe Joseph Smith? Or is he a liar? This is a trick question for ex-Mormons. They're confused. Oh crap, what do we do? Joseph Smith has to be wrong, but it's Brigham who's wrong and framed Joseph. Oh no, we can't admit that. And Mormons can't admit this church is bad, and so they're stuck. They don't know what to do now. They're frozen. Shouldn't be drinking water when I'm laughing. And so, section 103, verse 15, Joseph Smith says, the redemption of Zion. Remember the parable I just gave you. A parable concerning the redemption of Zion. Now Joseph Smith is making it very clear and plain and precious. Prophesying. No parable. The redemption of Zion must needs come by power. Therefore I will raise up. There's the law of the Jews concerning the identity of their Christ. Give you a hint. Not Jesus. Unto the Mormons. A baby born among the Mormons. Unto Mormons a child is born, unto Mormons a child is given, unto Mormons a child is born. Is that how it goes? Yeah, you didn't know Ode to Die Hard was about you, Mormons. That's an awesome song. It's the music video. It incorporates the scenes from Die Hard. Awesome. A man who shall lead them like as Moses, the Jewish Christ of the future. And Joseph Smith just told you he's Mormon. And so here it is. For ye, Mormons, are the children of Israel. Therefore, all of the scriptural prophecies, you are supposed to plug in you. You're not supposed to call it literal history. You are not supposed to use Christian interpretation. Definitely not Islamist interpretation. I was kind of upset yesterday, disappointed with our government. The Houthi have finally been designated again as a terrorist group. They've always been a terrorist group. Why did we delist them? What's going on? And Hamas, they are listed as a terrorist group, right? Hezbollah, terrorist group. ICE, terrorist group. Taliban, terrorist group, right? And who's supporting them? All of Islam. Thus, all of Islam, by supporting and protecting these terrorist groups, are all terrorist groups. But I diverge. There are just some no-does in this world that nobody's dying with. 1923. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints deceived the Mormons, tricked them, made them believe that the church never ceased to exist on the face of the earth. Oops, it did. Remember the official declaration number 1? Anybody? Yeah, Wilford Woodruff. He calls himself the president. The United States disincorporated the church. It ceased to exist on the face of the earth. Their tithing scam, Section 119, was a criminal operation. And the United States shut it all down. And you've been deceived into thinking it was only about polygamy. Religious freedom rights to marry child brides. Nope, it was tithing. Because when you employ money, polygamy, and especially child brides, becomes sex trafficking. It was technically child sex trafficking that Section 132 is all about. Because that's how Brigham Young employed it before he wrote it up and put it in his Doctrine and Covenants the year before he died, removing Joseph Smith's doctrine on monogamy. So in 1923, we should probably give you some background. 1920, the group that would eventually become Warren Jeff's fundamentalist church left the church. They said, this can't be true. We're fed up. Heber J. Grant's not doing the right thing. And so they went and formed their own group and eventually would become the FLDS Church, which Warren Jeffs was involved with. They wanted the church to obey the law of polygamy. And the church refused to. There's a reason. It's not because they were good. 1921, Heber J. Grant published a brand new Doctrine and Covenants. Purged the doctrine from it. The Lectures on Faith. Now, yeah, they were the lectures by Sidney Rigdon with the School of Prophets, but nonetheless, it was put in the Doctrine and Covenants from way back when. And with this change in doctrine, then you have what all of you know because it was very popular and made popular by a popular channel. The Arizona Mormon who did her master's thesis on the secret meeting of the Mormon intellectuals in 1922. They learned that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and its claims for history can't be true. There are just too many errors, and so they were concerned. What do we do? You should have paid attention to why Heber J. Grant came out with the 1921 Doctrine and Covenants. He already had it all planned. He was setting things up in motion, guys. Not very smart, are you? So-called intellectuals. They became apologists because that's what the church does. They threaten you to obey them or you're the enemy. They threaten you to believe them or you're the enemy. They threaten you to deny Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon or you're the enemy. Right, Abraham Gileadi? And so likewise with these intellectuals. Heber J. Grant, when they came to him, threatened them. Obey me, or you're the enemy. And so they obeyed, but yeah, they were publishing their concerns. B.H. Roberts, for example. And so, this is what Nelson's doing, in case you hadn't caught on. All these years. Obey Nelson, or you're the enemy, Mormons. Don't listen to Travis, or you're the enemy. Denounce Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon in the learning of the Jews, or you're the enemy. When obviously it says there in the learning of the Jews. You just had the lesson and oops, you skipped it. This is what Nelson's doing. This is Nelson's purge of the Mormons. Who is loyal to him or who is the enemy for believing the truth that is plain and precious and obvious? And so, Heber J. Grant resurrects from the dead in 1923. And in the Articles of Incorporation, first, the name of this church shall be the Church of the Corporation of the President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's not a church, Travis. Yeah, it's a business. It is not a religion. See, Brigham Young had set everything up. He joined the church to destroy it. And in setting it up, lied about the name of the church, lied about the Book of Mormon, lied about the religion. Christian, Jesus. Duh. That's why Nelson came out and threatened you. We are not Joseph's church. You will call it the Church of Jesus Christ. You will say the name. Jesus is angry. He will smite you down. You are the enemy if you do not do this. Yeah, how many of you obeyed? Yeah. I was confronted by many Mormon since then, threatening me to deny Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon in the learning of the Jews, to deny the Christ, of whom I just read in scriptures for you. Me denying the Christ. Hilarious. Not caught on yet? Blatantly obvious, plain and precious, and you haven't caught on yet? And so this Warren Jeffs group, if they knew this, could have taken that name. So yes, they continued to lie to Mormons, saying it's still the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that it never ceased. But there it is. The name was changed. That is the technical name. But the church lies to you, but because it's in the religious realm, they get away with it. But all the checks have that name. Second, the object of this corporation shall be to acquire, hold, and dispose of such real and personal property as may be conveyed to or acquired by said corporation. Brigham Young was all about amassing followers. First, it was his vanguard company of Danites who came to the valley. Then the very next year, the United States took over the land. But that was his backup plan. By calling the wrong name of the church, everybody who was converted through him and his Danites believed that that was the name of the church. And so, when it was clear that the United States had finally come in, Brigham Young then started the Perpetual Immigration Fund to get all his deceived converts to come to the valley, to amass an army of Israel against the United States to take back the land. These Mormons were only to be used for Brigham Young's purpose to go up against the United States. Because remember, you didn't go with him in the first group. Only when Brigham Young gave the call, he fled the country and abandoned the Mormons. Hey, that's the parable. There's dualism in the parables and the prophecies. And so, Brigham Young, in like manner, changed the name of the church and is changing the purpose of the church. But Brigham's wasn't to acquire money and wealth. It was to possess the land and have his kingdom, which, yeah, amass wealth, but he needed slaves, and he needed to take it back from America. And thus, it was about gathering an army. Thus why the Warren Jeffs group believed that they needed to continue Brigham Young, that Heber J. Grant was not doing what needed to be done. But now Heber J. Grant is saying it's not about gathering Mormons into the church. It's about gathering money. It's got accumulating property. The church is now going to buy up the land of the world to restore the kingdom of Brigham Young and acquire wealth. Wealth and land. And so, this corporation shall have power without any authority or authorization from the members of said church. Mormons have no say in the church anymore. The prophets do. The leadership is this corporation, not the members. They're out. The members are solely for the purpose of the church accumulating land and wealth. Mormons are now chattel. Brigham Young, Mormons were slaves to the kingdom. To amass the Mormons and then to spread them out along the western border to keep people out. Thus the Mountain Meadows Massacre. And so, $1,500,000, Heber J. Grant, resurrected from the grave, the great and abominable church. There was the other thing that I wanted to bring up. Where is it? Is it in the other incorporation? Oh my God. Do I have to stop the video and put that on and then, oh my God. Yeah, I think it is. So that's what, oh my God. Yeah, I'm going to have to stop the video. It's in the other incorporation. It's kind of vital to your eternal salvation. Hold on. Okay. 1940s Article of Incorporation. Still Heber J. Grant. He adds number 4 article. And in so doing, he now designates himself as the president. Not by the proper reasoning given by Joseph Smith. Again, last night, church doesn't follow anything of Joseph Smith or the Book of Mormon. And so again, he's doing it. Heber J. Grant. This was a Brigham Young thing. Brigham Young doesn't care about Joseph Smith or the Book of Mormon. He's using it for his purposes. So Heber J. Grant is now switching from population of slaves to now using the slaves to generate money and property. And so he's setting it up that every president of the Quorum of the 12 becomes the president of the church upon the death or removal of the president. And that they are the only ones to have the rights over these articles of incorporation. But in the event of the death or resurrection or resignation from office, resignation? Is that what you're going to do, Nelson? Are you going to resign? Pay attention. Resignation from office of the President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or in the event of a vacancy. Do we need to go back over the parable again for you? Do you need to understand what Brigham Young did, being the first to fulfill that prophecy of Joseph Smith? It wasn't revelation from Jesus. Dear God, Mormons. You are so like sheeple, and thus how the church treats you. That's why you're still sheeple. In the event of a vacancy in that office from any cause, and then, it's the quorum of the President of 12 or any of the members of the quorum become the president. Is this not the... Yeah, this is for succession. Okay, this is still not it. Where is it? But here he's setting it up for the potential for a vacancy and an abandonment of the office. But there was the one, and I should have checked it first. See, I got associative memory. I don't memorize. Because it's what shall happen when they... See, so this is 1973. Ah, here it is. Harold B. Lee. Here it is. I see it right here. Article 5, 1973. Yeah, here it is. Dear God. 1973, guys. It's before 1978. But what you don't know about 1978 is the church was making a quid pro quo with the United States of America. The United States of America said, hey, be nice to black people. Church said, well, we want you to dissolve the Edmunds-Tucker Act that shut us down in 1887. They said, well, no, you got to let black people into your church. Fine. And so, yeah, that's why in that April conference, I'm lying on my mom's lap, and then Harold B, it's the name of her, and Eldon Tanner gets up and does his speaking, and is just another old man rambling at the pulpit of the conference. As we're in the Stake Center in Southern California, we had just moved there from Michigan, as I had just graduated from first grade, published my first book at first grade, and it's been destroyed by my dad. It pissed me off. Anyway, and all of a sudden he says something that causes the whole audience to murmur. And I get up, I'm looking around, I have no idea what's going on, and I go right back down on my mom's lap. I'm 8 years old. I just got baptized. I'm now clean, cleansed, pure, and purged of sin. I'm perfect. So here it is. Article 4. Or 5, sorry. Upon the winding up. What? And dissolution of this corporation. You see what's going on here? Brigham Young accumulates slaves to build the kingdom. Heber J. Grant using those slaves to accumulate wealth and property, land. Now, Heber J. Grant, or Harold B. Lee, oh God, 1973, adds, we're planning on destroying this church and abandoning it, abandoning the Mormons, just like Brigham Young did. Upon the winding up and dissolution of this corporation, after paying or adequately providing for the debts of the obligations of the corporation, so they're not wanting to deny their responsibilities, they have to say this. The remaining assets. Do you know and understand the total asset value of the church? The whistleblower in December of 2019 opened up Pandora's box on the church. And even he does not fully grasp what the church has accumulated. Nelson would come out and respond, calling him a loser, and says that we do this with every source of income we get. Confirming that, yeah, he's right. We're violating the IRS tax law. We're committing insurance fraud. We're committing SEC violations. Yeah, we're a criminal organization. So, what you gonna do about it? Literally. Parable of the talents. That was Nelson's justification. In case you don't know Parable of the Talents, it's where the servant, or the Lord, gives his servants a certain number of talents. They're supposed to go into the town and generate more wealth when he comes again. And so he came again. They gave their stewardships. The ones who accumulated more wealth, good job. Keep getting more. Article 4, we're at the original one. Mormons are now to accumulate wealth. But the final one, didn't want to increase the wealth. Was scared. Buried it. And so it was taken from him and he was cast into outer darkness. And this is the church's plan. They're claiming that it's all for Armageddon, the second coming of Jesus, that they're doing this for. So when Nelson gets up at the pulpit of conference and says, and a major city yet to be determined in Russia, Nelson, in his mind, made a business deal with Putin, gave him money, and then Putin, as what they do, they compromise you with crime, which Fox 13 News Utah's Max Roth reported in May, right after. that the church used Orrin Hatch's tax bill, because everything Orrin did was for the church, obviously, formed LLC corporations of which they didn't need to report where the source of the money came from, and laundered it into the stock market, for which last year the church got busted by the SEC. Finally, dear God, took you long enough. Yep. And so, the year when they were doing business deals with Islamic leaders of government and religion, oh, yeah, now we see what that was all about. The war against Israel. Ezekiel 38 for Russia. Armageddon for Islam. This is the church. Church is behind all of it. The overthrow of Roe v. Wade. The church. The Council for National Policy since 1981. The church has been involved in destroying the United States of America. And if you were to go back to the Joseph Smith papers, 19 July 1840, Joseph Smith continues on the parable from section 101 and goes on to explain the fulfillment of that parable, saying that the Constitution would be on the brink of ruin. Oh, you thought it was hanging by a thread? This is the original source document. And tells Mormons, you think that the future Zion is in Missouri. Independence. Wrong. It's in southern Illinois, where X marks the spot for the latter days. And then would go on to say that this enemy is Brigham Young. Mark chapter 14. Mark is Mars, and Mars is the husband of Venus, and Venus is the inverted pentagram of Lucifer. Thus, Mars is Lucifer. Right, Russell Marion, Red Star, which is Mars, which is Lucifer. The name of the president of the great and abominable church. Prophesied and fulfilled. So see what's going on here? Do you see why I've been doing all my videos? Do you see why I can't just do documents for you and prove it? Because it takes too long. I do it in one video, and all the other videos I refer to it. And nonetheless, I get a dumbass who refuses to believe that their life is in danger as they attack me to defend the church that has betrayed you. So the remaining assets shall be distributed to a nonprofit fund, foundation, or corporation which is organized and operated exclusively for charitable, educational, or religious and or scientific purposes, and which has established its tax-exempt status under Section 501c3. Oh, now we see what they're doing of the IRS. And so the assets are set up to be given to their choosing when they abandon the church, to be given to whomever they choose. And if you've seen the news when a big corporation leader or somebody who gets sued and loses, Rudy Giuliani, the latest one, what did he do after losing? Got to declare bankruptcy. Yeah. Corporations do that. They declare bankruptcy. Oh no, we're all of a sudden poor. We can't pay the poor victims who beat us in court. So they can avoid paying the victims. And they launder the money through the corporate leader or their family or some other entity that is not the corporation. This is what the church is doing here. When we quit the church and we abandon the Mormons, we're going to give it to a designated individual that we claim. November 1973. Harold B. Lee. The prophecy of Joseph Smith is true, Mormons. And so other financial scandals that the church has been revealed with. So each and every single source of income, tithing is just one, multiple dozens. I sued the church, I found the list. Multiple dozens. Each and every single one of them has an Ensign Peak Advisor LLC corporation. And they launder money into the stock market, and they gain interest, and they do other investments with it, just like Ensign Peak Advisors with tithing. Every single one of them. That's why I warned you. The church is trying to collect as much money as they can from the Mormons and the world as they can, right here in the final inning. Because this is what they're doing. Accumulating wealth. Accumulating land. That's why Nelson, 20 temples? Wow. They're accumulating land. For what? Armageddon. But Australian press did the world a favor in exposing the church. The press, what's supposed to actually investigate. Nobody else will investigate the church. There's the Associated Press that's a thorn in the church's side. But they're not really investigating the church. It's all about the popularization of their paper, and so thus the news can tend to get sidelined. But nonetheless, the Australian press investigated the church and found that the church not only has these LLC corporations, but they also have a separate offshore bank account to launder the surplus money into. And so with tithing, we'll use as our example, trillions of dollars, because 10% goes to Ensign Peak Advisors. They have 200 billion plus. 10%, $2 trillion. For tithing. So there's 800 billion. It's actually more than that, isn't it? That's for only 1 trillion. So it's 18. Wow. 18. 1 trillion, 800 billion. So 200 billion makes it the 2 trillion, which is the 10%. 1.8 trillion is the total accumulation of tithing. And it's more now because of the years that have gone by since 2019. Only 200 billion went to Ensign Peak Advisors. What happened to the rest? Well, I guess it's that expensive for the priestcraft of the church. Section 119. Well, they don't use it for temples. They've got a temple fund for that now. That's another source of income. So it's not for the maintenance of the temples. It's not for the building of temples. And so we learned from Irene and his paycheck stub that, yeah, but that's only an accumulation of several million for all the profits, depending on how much Nelson gets as the president, because he gets more. And so, yeah, obviously, over $1 trillion for tithing is laundered into this offshore bank account. And remember, they have multiple dozens of sources of income. You add them all together, they have multi-trillions of dollars. Hoarding trillions of dollars in offshore bank accounts. Only getting exposed for 200 billion. Only getting fined by the SEC 5 million. Do the math. It's petty change. But it didn't stop them. They then went on to sue the insurance companies to get their money back for the money of the crimes that they committed against people who were victims of the church. They wanted their money back. They're trying to get as much money back as they can. This is what they're doing. Because they're winding it down. They're going to abandon Mormons. Oh no. No Palace of Jesus for April conference? We'll see. Jesus isn't going to be throned and coronated? I'm hoping he picks me to be his bride. Why? This is why they've been building. This is why they've been going blatantly against Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon since Nelson. The very first conference is trying to upset Mormons, to trigger Mormons to say, if you don't like it, leave. You're the enemy, but leave. We run this church, not you. That's interesting. There's a page 2 to the 73 articles. Oh, yeah. That's why they claimed they were wanting to help build a bridge to LGBTQ and then burned it down. They want you out of the church. That's why they did Karen. That's why they did last night. They knew I was going to cover it. They knew I know the doctrine, that I would expose it. They know. That's why this final wrapping up time, they're granting me an audience that I should have had in the beginning in 2017. But they purposely didn't want me to get popular in the beginning. They had a time frame for which all these things were to occur. And now it's time. And so now they don't care about me anymore. They're still tormenting me with cyber terrorism. And the YouTube employee does do minimal work now. But yeah, this is why all of a sudden my views are increasing, sort of, kinda. And the church is helping, knowing that I only get views for conference and for any bombshell news that comes out. So it's just Harold B. Lee saying that I'm the one authorized and I'm the one doing this, and yeah, okay. Can't see who the name of the notary is. I'm sure if we were to go back and see the list of Mormons in the church, we'd find out who it was. But yep, it's all been a con, Mormons. Joseph Smith warned you, church threatened you not to believe. Oy vey. I've been warning you, and you attack me to deny exactly what the church has done to you. What you do to me, your ancestors did to Joseph Smith and the Mormons. And you still continue to deny. You still continue to lie for the church's lies. You still commit crimes for the church to protect their crimes. You still refuse to acknowledge that this church is not Joseph's, that it is a complete and utter violation of the Book of Mormon. When all I'm trying to do is get a group of you together so that we can go to Zion and build it, while the rest of the world destroys themselves. That's it. That's all. I have no interest in stealing from you. I already have the economy. It's in the Book of Mormon. Right after defining priestcraft, saying it's a naughty no-no, it then says what the economy for Zion is. No money. And well, how do we pay for things? Are you really that dumb? Do you not understand? What job do you do? How do they get the stuff? Do they just pay for it and it automatically appears? Like a Star Trek food transporter thing? I want chicken soup. Here it is. Magically appears. Replicates. No. The earth already has all of the resources. There is no deity to pay to acquire the resources and use them. It's just, are you wanting to exterminate the resources, or are you wanting them to be used so that you can continue to use them perpetually for generations to come? So are you going to deplete the rainforest? Or are you going to use the rainforest for your survival and your basic needs and keep it going? The Earth can sustain 16 quadrillion humans in a 100 square foot apartment. 16 quadrillion. And still prosper. Getting food, having animals, plants. We can turn the world into a paradise. That is the distinction between humans and everything else. We are the only ones who can do this. No other animal is capable of having everything exist in harmony. For the rest of the world, it's survival of the fittest. Whoever exterminates the other resources and survives, which is nothing, the earth would eventually collapse into utter destruction. Even if it becomes a jungle, it will eventually destroy itself. That's what the activists don't understand, as they're wanting to exterminate humans. There is no need to exterminate humans. We have to stop the corrupt governments. They're the cause of the problem, not an overpopulation of the human race. But that's stuff that you don't even care about, because I'm still trying to convince you that the church is going to murder you and abandon you. Thanks for the money. Nelson came out. You didn't even. Thanks for making me rich. That's just right here. I knew and understood it. Why not you? I don't get it. Don't get it. This is the 5 pillars of Mormonism.